What is grant writing? In this video, we're going to dive into that and more. Hey there, my name's Josh, and over 10 years of experience in technical writing and writing grants. I'm also the founder of Technical Writer HQ. And before we dive into the video, take a moment to subscribe to our channel, and that way you won't miss any of our future videos on how to become a great grant writer. Now let's go ahead and get started. So grant writing is a process of applying for funding provided by institutions such as government departments, corporations, foundations, and trusts. A grant application is also known as a grant proposal. And in the proposal, an organization or individual seeking a grant will usually outline their mission, the problem they are solving, and how they plan to use the grant. And grant proposals are often used to obtain funding for a specific project. And grant writing is often known as a four-step process that includes goal identification, researching grants, grant proposal writing, and the follow-up process. Now let's go ahead and take a look at each of these steps in more detail. So the first thing to know is a grant is not the objective. Rather, it is a means to an end. Organizations and individuals must first develop clarity about their vision and goals. As an individual goal, consider the example of a researcher who has an idea for a new COVID vaccine. The researcher needs funding to conduct research, and that's where grant writing comes in. As an organizational goal, consider the example of a community health center that aims to improve the quality of its clinical care. The health center can achieve its goal in several ways, including hiring experienced doctors and nurses, sending doctors and nurses to training programs, and procuring state-of-the-art medical equipment. And all these require funding, and that's where grant writing comes in. And once an individual or organization has a clear vision and goals, the next step is to conduct research and shortlist funding organizations. And part of the researching grants process is determining which ones are not worth pursuing as well. And to find available funding, individuals and organizations identify donors and funding agencies whose vision and mission match their own. So there needs to be alignment. And they often search through detailed lists, databases, and donor websites. Then after compiling a potential list of donors, the next step is creating grant proposals. And grant proposals often require a variety of documents such as a cover letter, a project narrative, and supporting information. These documents help to build credibility, explain why a cause is important, and detail how the funds will be used. So for example, the grant proposal might describe the past, present, and planned activities of the grant-seeking individual or organization. And in drafting the proposal, writers must follow the grant's guidelines, such as ensuring that the organization meets eligibility requirements and provides a budget that outlines how they plan to spend the grant. And incorporating all these elements into a successful proposal takes time and expertise, especially when there are hundreds, sometimes thousands of organizations competing for the same funds. And this is where individuals and organizations applying for grants can use the services of expert grant writers who can help them craft successful proposals. And it doesn't end there. After submitting proposals, the next step is the follow-up, which includes responding to funders' questions about proposals, staying updated about the status of proposals, and in case of rejection, trying to understand the reasons and work to remove any deficiencies in the proposal to increase its chances of success. And now we'll go ahead and take a look at some common elements of grant proposals. First, you must keep in mind that writers working on proposals will need to get tailored advice about grant writing within their specific discipline or sphere. They'll also need to follow the exact instructions about proposals from the granting agencies to which they apply. And grant writers can talk to professors, mentors, previous grant recipients, the funding agency or group they are applying to, and trusted advisors in their field in order to learn more about what successful grant proposals look like, and also to get feedback on their own plans and drafting process. Now, when you create a grant proposal, your objective is to persuade the funding organization to approve your request. And you can't achieve your objective until you understand your audience. And before starting to write, you must conduct a thorough audience analysis, and you need to focus on what appeals to your audience and create the proposal with that in mind. And successful grant proposals focus on the mission and interest of the funding organization. A good audience analysis allows grant writers to tailor the proposal's content to ensure it adheres to the principles of the funding organization. An in-depth understanding of your audience will also help you determine what information to include in the proposal, what to leave out, and most importantly, how to present the information. And grant proposals need a strong title. The best strategy for writing a grant proposal title is to keep it short and intentional. You should include keywords that show your proposal is aimed at the funding purpose. It is also a good strategy to use active words that articulate your anticipated outcomes. And not all grant proposal requests will require or accept a cover letter. However, where a cover letter is an option, it is one of the best ways to present your proposal. And a standout cover letter is sure to capture the attention of the committee that reviews grant proposals. While the cover letter will be what the reviewers read first, it is often best to write your cover letter after you have a completed proposal. In this way, you can capture the most important pieces of information from your proposal. The cover letter is not a summary of your proposal. Rather, it is an opportunity to create familiarity and showcase the highlights of your proposal. And your cover letter should have a format that includes addressing and correct point of contact for the grant, giving an overview of who you are as an individual or organization, and briefly introducing your project. An often overlooked section in grant proposals is the importance of your mission statement. And if you do not have a mission statement for your organization, do not attempt to make one up for the purpose of your grant. Use the grant process as an opportunity to develop an original mission statement. And grant funders want to see that your mission aligns with their own mission and intent for the grant funding. When you share your mission statement in a grant proposal, find ways to articulate how your mission aligns with theirs. And as an example here, consider the mission statement of the American Lung Association. Note that the language used is clear and direct. It's free of jargon, and you can read the statement in under 10 seconds. The biggest benefit of including mission statements in the grant proposal is that any reader who has a similar mission and interests will be instantly aligned with the individual or organization requesting the grant. And the executive summary summarizes your proposal. It is a crucial section that often gets reviewed at the beginning of the screening process. And reviewers will read the executive summary as a way to quickly gauge whether your proposal aligns with the goals of the funding. And you must be concise as well as persuasive. You have a short space to provide a clear and compelling overview of your funding proposal. And you can leave the details for the other sections. Your intent in writing a nonprofit grant proposal is to secure funding for a project or your operations, and it's critical to make a strong case for your funding request. Your need statement should be direct and compelling, and when writing your need statement, try to be as specific as possible. Think of trying to answer the following questions when making your case. First, what is the problem your project will solve? What are the current gaps in funding for you to solve your problem? What data can you include that provides objective justification for the problem and the potential solution your project provides? And how can you connect to the reader? And how can you craft your proposal so the reader can see from your viewpoint? As an example, consider this executive summary for a grant proposal requesting funding for flu shot clinics. It gives you an overall snapshot of the entire proposal. And often those who review grant proposals will read the executive summary and then decide if they will read the entire proposal. This is where you can grab the reader's attention. So make it count. One of the most important pieces of information that you will provide as part of your needs statement is the budget. And here you definitely need to be specific. It should lay out in black and white what you need and why you need it. And the budget shown here is relatively simple, and that is because it is used for illustrative purposes. And you can include as much detail as you deem fit. Make sure that the budget justifies your demands though. That is super important. And one thing that stands out to grant reviewers is your long-term plan for your project. Grant funding is often short-term in nature, and grant reviewers want to see what you have done and plan to do to make your project sustainable when grant funding is no longer available. So while your project may rely almost entirely on grant funds you request, you should still consider what aspects of the project you would prioritize to maintain regardless of grant funding. Your commitment to the project will build confidence in your success. And grant makers want to feel assured that the outcomes promised by awardees will be realized. And grant writing is a lucrative career. If you want to become a freelance grant writer or work for an organization, you need to take your skills and knowledge to the next level. And here are some tips that can help you become a successful grant writer. First is get a degree. A bachelor's degree is not necessary for a grant writer job. However, hiring managers do prefer candidates with degrees, and most grant writers major in business. And some other common majors for a grant writer include English and marketing. An advanced degree can help set you apart from the competition even more. With that said, degrees are becoming less and less in demand because there are easier ways to shortcut this process, such as through grant writing certifications. And hiring managers often prefer people with grant writing certifications, and that way you can get your step in through the door without even having a degree. And you can start working as a grant writer immediately if you have a certification, good writing skills, and you are ready to learn and step up to the plate. And grant writing certifications introduce you to the important aspects of grant writing. And some certification courses focus on teaching advanced grant writing skills. Certifications also take far less time to complete than degrees are simply more economical. You can get a certificate from a college or online university like Technical Writer HQ. And there are other ones out there such as Grant Writing Basics for Beginners by Skillshare, Federal Grant Writing by Udemy, Grant Writing Course by the University of South Carolina, and an Advanced Grant Proposal Writing by Ed2Go. Now you can also get grant writing experience, which ultimately that is the most valuable. And experience is a crucial aspect you must consider when pursuing your career in grant writing, and try to prioritize it. Experienced writers can help organizations win grant money by writing outstanding proposals. And that's why employers consider hiring competent grant writers with years of experience in the field, or even just some experience over those with certifications and degrees. You can also transition to grant writing later on in your career. And many grant writers start out in other roles before transitioning to grant writing. A background in communications, fundraising, or budgeting is also valuable. If you lack experience, you can start off by volunteering for nonprofit organizations, and you can also offer your services for free to gain experience. And as you get experience, you can start charging for your services. You can also look for entry-level grant writing jobs. And once you have gained experience, you can then apply for advanced positions. And of course, you should focus on networking with successful grant writers. To excel in a grant writing career, you must be able to build relationships with people who have been there and done that. And that means people who have raised significant amounts of money. And working as a volunteer grant writer at a nonprofit organization can help you gain experience and network with other grant writers. You can also join grant writing associations to connect with other grant writers. Attending conferences, workshops, and seminars can also help you learn from experts in the field. And there you have it. We just went over grant writing, the grant writing process, and common elements of grant proposals, and how you can become a great grant writer. And thank you for watching the video and sticking with me all the way to the end. If you feel like you have a better understanding of the grant writing process, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and that way you keep up to date with everything on how to become a great grant writer. And I'll go ahead and see you in some of our following videos. Cheers.